Nanotechnology, created by an Ultor scientist on Mars. Stolen, brought to Earth, stolen and stolen again. Until we who are loyal to the Commonwealth possessed it. We were volunteers, eager to serve as Chancellor Sopot's secret weapon, an army of super soldiers. Fighters who were stronger, faster, and smarter than anyone else.
Red Faction is a first-person shooter and the debut of the geo-mod technology, which was actually pretty impressive for its time. The game allows players to alter or modify parts of the environments with explosive weapons. In other words, destructible environments. Unfortunately, I felt the technology was underutilized in the campaign, but luckily it has more going for it than just that. It's a fun action game and solid shooter that takes you on a cool adventure around Mars. Although I do think it becomes a little frustrating in the third act or so. It was successful enough that a sequel was developed, a sequel that nobody seems to talk about. Red Faction 2 seems to be an outcast in the series. It received average to good reviews, and the community surrounding it doesn't seem to be as big as that of the first game. Developed by Volition and published by THQ, Red Faction 2 was released for PlayStation 2 in October 2002, and GameCube, Xbox, and PC in April 2003. For this review, I played the Xbox version on a Series X. If you're wondering why I didn't play the PC version, it's because this is one of the few games that doesn't record correctly, and I'm too stubborn to try different software. Regardless, it's not hard to get running on modern systems, but widescreen resolutions will stretch the presentation, and that never looks good. We did put links to the game's PC Gaming Wiki page along with some other stuff in the description below, should you want to run the PC version yourself. This review will contain some spoilers, so if you're sensitive to spoilers, now is the time to stop watching. You have been warned. Now let's take a look at Red Faction 2 and see what it brings to the table.
Don't screw up, Alias. What Chancellor Sopot wants, Chancellor Sopot gets.
Set on Earth, the player assumes the role of an explosives expert codenamed Alias, who is part of a squad that embarks on a special operations mission to retrieve research data on nanotechnology for the military state known as the Commonwealth. The Chancellor uses the data to create nano-enhanced super soldiers, and then deems the squad too dangerous, and orders them to be hunted down and executed. But the squad fights back with the aid of the Red Faction, who oppose the rule of the Commonwealth.
Yes, sir. We've got him tracked. You! Inside! Come out with your hands up!
Looks like we're expected.
I think the story is okay, and some of the characters here feel more cartoonish than those in the first game. The cast is comprised of some notable talent, including Lance Henriksen, Jason Statham, and Julie Claire, and overall I think the performances are solid, considering what the actors have to work with. There are some connections to the events in the first game, but I don't feel you need to play it to really grasp what's going on here. There are some twists and turns and multiple endings. One thing I really enjoyed about this game is the tone and atmosphere. It does feel different than the first game, conveying a more, what I'll call, badass, high-tech, action-oriented experience and grittier, B-movie-like tone. I like the idea of being part of some elite squad and navigating through futuristic urban and war-torn environments. Much like the first game, Red Faction 2 is a first-person shooter with a cool arsenal, solid gunplay, and partially destructible environments. However, this time there seems to be less focus on destroying shit, which is interesting, because I feel the first game didn't focus on it enough, and yet I felt like it was supposed to be the game's selling point. Now, you can blow through walls in certain parts of the environments in Red Faction 2, but once again, not everything is destructible. The game centers very much on the action and set pieces. Red Faction 2 is a pretty straightforward first-person shooter, but does change up some things from the first game. You are given multiple health bars, so to speak, and once all three are drained, you die. Health does regenerate if you stay out of danger for a while, and health kits will immediately replenish a bar. One of the more notable aspects of the game is the heroism system. You increase your heroics meter by completing bonus objectives, and lower it by killing innocent people, and your heroism determines what ending you see. I think this is actually an interesting system that could have been fleshed out more, like different paths through the campaign depending on how heroic you are. Red Faction 2 features a good variety of enemies and a lot of cool weapons to shoot them with, some of which can be dual-wielded. You'll blow away soldiers, spider bombs, enemies in battle armor, and nanotech-enhanced foes towards the end of the game, among others. I do think the gameplay feels less frustrating than that of the first game. Now, it can offer a challenge, and death does set you back to the beginning of the current level, or what you may call a checkpoint. But these checkpoints are frequent enough so that a death doesn't result in a way too long retrek. For the most part, I would say the difficulty ramps up rather well on the medium difficulty, and the biggest challenge for me was the final boss, who can be a real bitch. Now, the run and gun stuff is pretty typical for the genre. You run around the environments and shoot enemies while trying not to die. You are given primary objectives to complete, and bonus objectives will appear as you progress and are optional. There is no forced stealth sequences, but the action is often broken up by action-packed set pieces. You'll get to use battle armor to mow down foes, gun down foes from an aircraft and tank, and use a submarine to engage enemy submarines. I do think some of these go on for a bit too long, specifically the rail shooter sequences, but they are fun and make for nice breaks from the run and gun stuff.
Creatures.
You'll shoot your way through a great variety of environments, and I really enjoyed the urban settings. The environments are linear, and you will be required to blow through walls and floors at certain points. The geo-mod technology isn't utilized very often to the benefit of the player, but it is cool when gunfire results in glass breaking and explosions destroy things during firefights. My only complaint with the environments is that despite the linearity, sometimes it's not clear where to go, and I found myself running around in circles for a while looking for the path I missed, while engaging enemies that don't seem to stop coming. Red Faction 2 does feature some unlockable content, including concept art and a multiplayer game type. The game does feature local multiplayer with a good amount of game types, and you can play with bots. Now, one cool aspect about the bots is that you can create your own, and even set their traits like health, accuracy, and aggressiveness. Not only that, their stats are tracked as they are used in matches, and they acquire more points that you can use to further increase their traits. I didn't get a chance to play with actual people, but I admit I was somewhat impressed with the bot stuff. As far as I can tell, the game types aren't anything we haven't seen before, especially in today's world, and the multiplayer comes with a good selection of maps. Visually, I do think Red Faction 2 does look better than its predecessor. It definitely has better environmental variety, and the character and weapon models look pretty good. Nevertheless, playing now, the game does show its age, and I did notice some blurry textures here and there and low-quality backgrounds. I do think the geo-mod stuff is presented better in the first game simply because it feels even more restricted here. As for the audio, overall, the action sounds pretty good, but I definitely wish some weapons sounded more punchy or powerful. The action is accompanied by a soundtrack consisting of moody and intense tunes that fit the futuristic and high-tech themes the game is going for, but there is one song that sticks out to me as pretty damn good. On the technical side, I cannot say I encountered any issues. I like Red Faction 2, but in a way I feel it's less unique than the first game, and that is definitely because of the geo-mod stuff. Not that the first game takes full advantage of it all the time, but there's definitely less focus on it in Red Faction 2, and as a result, it feels like just another shooter. But I think it's a good shooter. It actually showcases some pretty cool stuff. The heroism system is interesting, but I feel it could definitely have been fleshed out more, and the bot management stuff is pretty cool. I only wish more shooters implemented this kind of thing. The bots certainly don't behave like actual players, but it does allow solo players to enjoy the multiplayer content and gives you incentives to come back solo. In the end, I think Red Faction 2 is a lot like the first game. It's a solid shooter that I feel just doesn't reach its full potential, but it is fun for what it is. It doesn't really expand on anything that made the first game unique. In fact, it changes the setting, arsenal, atmosphere, and tone, and offers a lot of action. It's basically a run-and-gun shooter that lets you destroy shit every now and again.
Elias, Shrike, military
Enemy convoy coming on the highway west of you. Take it out.
I would recommend Red Faction 2 because it is fun. I can't say it's great, but it is fun and action-packed. I do think the first game is better simply because it felt a little more unique, and I can see why some may think Red Faction 2 feels a little average. It does showcase some neat ideas, but it doesn't do anything super impressive with the geo-mod technology, nor does it do anything with the gameplay that we haven't seen before. Ultimately, it's not a bad game, and if you're a shooter junkie, you should at least check it out.
Oh, shit!
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check out the rest of our channel, follow us at the links below, and you can also support us on Patreon.
If you're interested in more gaming content, check out our friends over at Gamecast.